He does not believe in writer's block, as I feared. And for me, like, frickin' preach, Neil Gaiman. Honestly, I think this just goes to prove we all have our different styles for a reason. Hey guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel. And as the title suggests, today I'm going to be trying to write like Neil Gaiman. Now, before I dive into Neil's routine, Neil, first name basis, because we're best friends now, I want to address that I was kind of nervous to do this one, and I'm not really sure what the reason for that was, other than like I look up to Neil Gaiman as a writer, and I know so many of you guys do because he was like by far and away the most requested person in this like I tried writing like series. But I actually want to say now that I think that nervousness, that fear was a little bit unwarranted now that I know more about his routine, because I think his might actually be the easiest to follow in terms of the actual doing. Meaning like it's not quite Haruki's 4 a.m. wake up, and it's not quite Nora's like 7 hours of completely dedicated focus, but there's gonna be like a lot of mental strategic reasons for the way he has his routine, the way he does, and the way he has his writing process, the way he does. And I think kind of thinking those through and reminding myself of them is going to be more of a mental exercise today. Is any of this making sense? I'm talking about like his mindset on things like finishing and writer's block and revision. It's like a bit of life advice mixed with like straight writing advice. I don't think this is making sense. Hopefully it makes more sense as we go along. And I'm gonna tell you the actual steps I'm taking to write like Neil Gaiman today. So the practical things that I'll be doing today. Number one, first drafts are going to be written by hand. Neil's basic feelings on this kind of echo mine in some regards, and that like no one cares about the first draft. No one is going to see the first draft but you, so just get it frickin' down. Like finishing the first draft, like that's what you have to do. As a writer, you have to finish things, right? And so, and for him, there's some also element, this is not my first draft. This is not a draft. Where's notes I've taken? That might be better to have up here. I think he also mentions that the act of like writing the first draft down by hand does make him like think through things a little bit more because it takes a little bit longer. It helps him to be more purposeful in his words, I guess. I'm apprehensive not only because I tend to like zero draft, and the idea of being like purposeful in my first draft is not something that like I have a lot of experience with. Mostly I'm just trying to get it down. So in some vein, I already follow Neil Gaiman's principle, but also my handwriting is really bad, and I type really fast. That's usually the two reasons that lead me to writing on the computer and not by hand. Now I do things like this where I'll take notes, where I brainstorm. I do all of that by hand. So the actual, oh no, something fell out. Look at this, a bubble tea menu from a shop in Vancouver, because that's important to me right now. Let me stick you back in there somewhere. This thing is like half travel notebook, half writer notebook. It's like, it's all over the place. The other thing that's going to come up today is also that he writes screenplays always on the computer. So hold on to that. The second Neil Gaiman-y principle that I'm going to be following today is that he likes having a second book to work on, to fall back on, to like alternate with, and just a writer after my own heart. So I will be working on multiple stories, multiple projects today. Hooray. Now, the third thing, the third principle of Neil Gaiman's writing that I'm going to be focusing on, okay. The third thing is that Neil is often quoted as saying, you can write, you can do nothing, but you can't do anything other than write. Basically, writing time is writing time, you guys. And if there's a recurring theme to all of these I tried writing like series, videos, whatever, it's that my attention span apparently is much smaller than I thought. My idea of what writing time means needs a complete overhaul, because what I find myself often doing is I do write, and I do focused writing for maybe like say 20 minutes, and then I turn to my other screen or my phone or the TV or whatever, and then I'm not writing. In that one moment where I just had a slight hesitation or a break, I was like, let me fill something else with my time. No, you can write, you can do nothing, but you can't do anything other than write. Can you hear my dog licking himself? Duke, do you not know why I'm filming a video? You're cute, you're so cute. Come here. You silly dog. Yes, sir. Hello. So the fourth thing is going to be around my word count goal for the day. Neil, my best friend Neil, first name basis Neil Gaiman considers 1,500 words to be a good day. Now, he doesn't really make this his goal truly. He just does the same thing. He does these other rules throughout the day, and some days that gives him 300 words and other days that gives him 4,000 words. But that's just how writing is. He thinks of a good day as like 1,500 words to be comfortable, easy writing. That was the entire quote that I put in there. So obviously the day has already started. I'm up, I made my cappuccino, and I'm talking to you guys. And now I think it's important to highlight that there was no time frame for this. There was no goal time to be up to do anything. So I've actually, what time is it? It is 9:11 a.m. right now. I've actually already been working, just not on like fiction writing and not on screenwriting. So I didn't record any of that. But because Neil Gaiman, as far as I could find, doesn't have any like set times that things must be done in, I didn't do it. But my point is that I am fully awake and I'm actually much more relaxed in how I'm going to be going about and getting the words today compared to my other I tried writing like videos. Now, before I start writing, something I want to mention is that I will leave all of the resources I used down below in the description box. But one that I really love, the Tim Ferriss podcast that he recently did with Neil Gaiman. It's great for a lot of reasons, but what I thought was particularly great right now is that at one point Neil Gaiman attempted to write like Ian Fleming. So I'm gonna let him kind of tell you through the screen, but I just think, how full circle is this? Like, anyways, so, you know, writers have been inspiring writers through both their books and their process for forever. Okay.
You have to check into a not terribly nice hotel room. Otherwise, you might luxuriate and enjoy it. And you write like a fiend. And you get your James Bond book written in 2 weeks and you leave this horrible hotel room. And that was how he did it. And I have tried it a couple of times.
The podcast is great. I just wanted to pull that particular part for you guys now. Okay. Pop. I'm just about to start writing for the day. But I am going to go ahead and pull up Project Death. And now you're gonna notice something that, one, it's on my computer because during Camp NaNoWriMo I wrote it in my first draft entirely in Scrivener. But Neil Gaiman does not write his first drafts on the computer. He writes them by hand. So I am actually going to keep this up for like reference purposes because obviously I don't have anything else to go back and look at. But I'm gonna start writing by hand, and this is gonna be the first project I work on today, and we're just gonna see how it goes. We're gonna see if I can read my own handwriting. We're gonna see if I think that it's slowing me down at all actually helps me think through the story better. I don't know, wow, there's so many pages that I have done stuff with. I think I might need a new notebook. Coming to the end. All right, there we go. Once again, do you see how close he sits? Like, I'm gonna accidentally run over a puppy. I don't wanna do that, Duke. Okay, so after having reread, because truthfully I haven't worked on this project much since Camp NaNoWriMo ended, that is my true confession. Now, the point I'm at is that my main character has been given another person to kill, Project Death, hello. But this time it's a person that she doesn't really want to kill, and the armorer doesn't want her to kill the person either, but they're going to be in this sticky situation because obviously the house is going to know if they don't kill this woman, and the problem is that of course if they don't fulfill it, then someone else within the house will. So looking forward into the future of the story, the next couple plot points, I'm gonna have to figure out if my main character is willing to kill this person for the sake of this ultimate journey that she's gonna try and like pull one over on the house, or if they're gonna try and hide her, or if she and the armorer are going to have like a semi falling out. Like, because I'm pantsing this project, I really have a lot of questions on how I'm going to do certain things to get to my ultimate end, because the end is all I know at this point. So I guess it's just time to get to writing by hand. I'm nervous. Okay, so here's the thing. One of the problems I'm realizing Whew, this hair is doing something. One of the problems I'm realizing is that I had an idea that needs to go like over here, theoretically, if the timeline were to fit how I would do it. Like I'm just building up to this point. Now I want to write that idea down so I don't lose that idea. It's a quote of dialogue that I want to keep. But how do I never write scenes by hand anymore, so I don't know what I have done in the past. I think I just hopped over. I think I did a lot more like arrows and diagrams. Like I messed something up here and I put an arrow down. Like, anyways, the point being, this feels very new. And right now, I don't know that I like it. I'm gonna keep trying because I have the rest of, I got plenty of time. I got a scene to write. But also, I'm wondering if, because my brain, I've spoken before about how often I tend to like write 2 bits of the scene and then bridge the gap in the middle later. Maybe that's a benefit for me and my style to writing on the computer. Anyways, look at this bird out here. Are you gonna focus on the bird? What are you doing, bud? Get that food. Go, buddy, go. Look, I can write or I can do nothing, but I can't do anything other than write and watch birds. Those are the rules. I think I'm gonna have to give an update at the very end just to see if I can legibly, if I know what I'm doing. Can I read what I wrote? I do write in cursive mostly, and it's still trash, but you should see my like print handwriting. It is way worse. So I'm now on this page. What I think I want to do is just count up and see how many words approximately are in this one. And then as I go through the rest of this scene writing, I can get a good guess as I kind of aim to hit that 1500. And I would say, minus the actual handwriting part, the words right now are flowing pretty well. So currently a good day of writing. I feel like I've barely done anything and yet it feels really hard. Literally just because my hand is like, how do I do this again? That's so sad. Wow. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 7, 8, 7, 9, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 185. 185 words on that page. And you can see that like I skipped full lines and then some I had to cross out and all sorts of other stuff. So I feel like this is a good average of what I can get per thing. Honestly, let's just maybe guess 200 words. So I'm aiming for 8 pages. Oh, I don't know that my hand can do 8 pages worth of that. Ooh. So sad. That is so sad. I think also because I don't know if you'll see like most of the stuff that I'm doing here on the other pages, while they're sort of, notes and brainstorming, they don't take as long and I'm not doing it as fully. I feel like my brain's moving so fast as I'm writing by hand that my actual hands never get a second to stop unless I'm fully paused on something. Like it just go, go, go. I stop less, so maybe that means that like I would be less distracted in general. And if I don't have a screen up, maybe I'd be less distracted. You know what, also, I don't actually need, now that I know where I'm at, I don't need that anymore. How nice, okay. All right, we're going for a location change because this pepperoni needs to lay in his bed because he's freaking out. So, go ahead and take this stuff. Come on, bud. Gonna keep the TV angled that way so I won't really see it. Come on, buddy. Come lay down. Oh, good job, puppy. Do you see it? He like doesn't really lay in it. I don't know what's up with him. What up with you, Duke? So, I actually just made a little dashed line down here because I finished the scene. It ended up being about, I would guess, 500 words. The thing is though, I did start this next scene and I do know what I want to write, but to be honest, I'm really not enjoying writing by hand. I feel like I think up something and by the time I've gotten to that point writing it, it's like the thought is, it's not that it's gone. It's just that it's not the initial pow, and now possibly it's because the idea was never that good in the first place and I'm only now realizing it because I'm having to process it longer. But Honestly, I think this just goes to prove that we all have our different styles for a reason. I do remember Jessica and I talked about this on a live stream because we do have a couple people who join live streams that are writing by hand. And we were talking about how like in high school, we used to write during class by hand. And I think I have such fond memories of that in some ways because writing by hand, like writing my stories in class was an escape from those classes or from whatever I was dealing with. And so there is some amount of like nostalgia for writing a notebook by hand, like my actual story with dialogue and everything. But just now I don't need to do that. I'm not in class. I'm not really trying to escape anything at the moment. So I think the cathartic nature for me is not needed right now. This is something that like when I'm at like a low point, I tend to journal and I always do it by hand. And I think there's some connection between person and paper and pen that is really nice. But I don't know. Anyways, probably not for me. But the good thing is, since I had finished a scene, I am going to go ahead and put this there and then call it. I'm going to go and switch off onto another project. I'm gonna go find it. This beauty. See, just follow me around because he's scared. Come on, bud. What do you think? What's up with you? Now, Project Purple is in its revision stages. And I actually think there's a couple interesting things that Neil Gaiman says about revision and the revision process that I completely agree with. It's always fun. It's always nice when you can have like a huge author say something and you're like, that's how I do it too. Or like, that's, my same mentality. And it's like, you feel almost close to the person. So I feel almost like there's a lot of almost in there. That I'm almost like Neil Gaiman. Like, that's cool in itself. So there's basically two things regarding revision. One of his is like no reading in the genre that you write. Now, I don't think this is true always, obviously. He's actually quoted as saying basically like Tolkien didn't read Tolkien-esque fantasy. He read a bunch of other stuff. And I think it's more that when you're revising, when you're writing, it's really easy to slip into like, or I guess for me, it can be really easy to slip into emulating someone else's style. So like if I'm writing a whole bunch of YA contemporary and I'm writing a YA contemporary, especially in the early stages, so like the first revision through or something, it can be so easy for me to be like, oh, I'm basically writing like this person or whatever, But I think the other aspect of this rule is to like read outside of your comfort zone. Like you can learn so much from other genres. And I think some of the best writers blended different genres together to come up with their own unique aspect of storytelling. And so that's why I think it's one of those things like, yes, you need to read in the genre that you want to write in. If you want to be a writer, you have to read, but also don't just read the genre that you write in. Read broadly. Read a lot and read broadly. And then the other thing he says, basically something I've always believed to be true, and it's like a debatable thing I've seen with other people, but it's definitely true for me, that I have to have gaps between when I've drafted something and when I can go to revise it again. So here's what he says. When you're ready, pick it up and read it as if you've never read it before. If there are things you aren't satisfied with as a reader, go in and fix them as a writer. That's revision. And for me, like frickin' preach, Neil Gaiman. I have to have space between me and my work in progress in order to know what is and isn't working. And I think that space is so important. I've changed a lot as a writer, even in the past couple years of making authortube videos, but like that's one of the hard and fast rules that I like consistently agree with, consistently practice. Like I need that space between revisions in order to give it some breathing room so that I can then read it as a reader and then know what to fix and go and do it as a writer after. So basically, you'll definitely know this is true because Project Purple, I rewrote draft 2, or I wrote draft 2, I guess you want to look at it that way. I wrote draft 2 during NaNoWriMo 2018 and extended a bit till December, and I've gotten beta reader feedback on it since, and like I've reread it since then, but this is the time that I'm going to be rereading it and fixing timeline stuff. So point being, there's been enough space through each step of the way for me that I can do that. I can now write it as a writer. Well, hopefully I can write it. Hopefully I can fix it. Timeline errors. What does Neil Gaiman say about timeline errors? What are the odds this actually comes up with anything? Okay. I'm not taking a whole lot of time to Google that because I really do want to get into revising and writing. And in this instance, I'm also going to consider his rule of like, when you're writing, you're frickin' writing and you're not doing anything else or nothing. No, that's not how the quote went, but it's something like that. I just want to be working on this and focused on this. So now that I'm ready to start, let's frickin' do this thing. Yay! So here's kind of how I'm going to organize this for now. I'm going to have the date of the week, the date, the chapter, and the scene. A lot of things, like when my main character is kidnapped with the prince, happen in, there's like, I don't know how many chapters that happen in that first day, but then they're kidnapped for about 10 days, and so, but not all the scenes cover those, and then things get more stretched out and sporadic as, you know, the story goes on. Really where I've messed up, and I've talked about this, is Thanksgiving. I used it as an anchor point for a lot of different events, but I shifted around when the events went, and so it didn't make sense. But I have to get everything right first for Thanksgiving to make sense. And then I even had one of my beta readers said that they thought that they were confused from the beginning on the timeline. So yeah, so I just need to fully make note of everything, read through stuff. The other caveat here is that though Neil Gaiman's advice is to not read in the genres that you write, I have been beta reading for Emily Boerne, who is writing like basically young adult contemporary. And then Teresa, someone who watches my videos, and hers is not young adult contemporary, but it is like adult contemporary. And there's some differences there. But the point being, I am kind of reading all across my genre. But I'm not reading any young adult fantasy right now, which is the project that I am writing by hand for today. So I hope you'll allow me this leniency. So, time to get to reading, time to get to working. I will say that because Neil Gaiman's routine, as far as I can tell, is not time-based, I'm happy to leave my stuff here while I eat my lentils and like watch something on TV. It doesn't feel as rigid, which I think is good, and also for me, potentially bad. We're gonna find out if I can like hop to after things. So it's lunchtime now. We'll see how long my lunchtime extends to. Yeah. But when I'm writing, or I'm doing nothing. But I'm not doing anything but writing. Okay. Hey Duke, you wanna go outside? Do you wanna go outside? All right, let's go outside. Let's go. See, it's all of a sudden so nice out. Look at that. Barely any clouds. Good job. So the good thing about this Neil Gaiman method is that when I'm not writing, I feel like it's okay to take like a full break to do like a bit of laundry or any other assortment of things that are kind of just on my to-do list. I feel like I can take like 15 minutes here and there to break stuff up and not like I've violated some crazy rule or something. But what I'm realizing like right now today is that I've been much more zoned in on rereading my story and filling in my spreadsheet and kind of brainstorming that than I have been writing my first draft. And now I don't know how much of that is due to like I'm just not enjoying the handwriting process and how much of that is like, you know, my heart today is in Project Purple and not Project Death. Like I'm not positive. But I think now is as good a time as any to mention that Neil Gaiman does not believe in writer's block. Just period. He does not believe in writer's block. That being said, he does believe in getting stuck in a story, but like he thinks writer's block is something that writers made up to like be clever and like put the difficulties of writing off on something else. Like, it's not my fault I can't write right now, I just have writer's block. To prove this point extra, he has a quote that goes, oh, Duke's sitting up again. Oh, good job, buddy. He says, cellists don't have cellist block, gardeners don't have gardener's block, TV hosts do not have TV host block, but writers have claimed all the blocks and we think it's a real thing. And I really like that, partially because it's another instance where I believe it's true. Now, I don't think I'm blocked today. I just think I don't want to do it. I don't think it's like some thing that is blocking me. I do think that, not this instance, because I'm actually pretty certain of what I want to write when I do get to writing, but like I totally believe in getting stuck in a story and not knowing what to do, or like not wanting to write it because it feels wrong. And that's when I always know that I've made a misstep. So I can go back to earlier and like work through that. But that's not writer's block. It's just, in my opinion, it's just my feeling of being like, oh, you've done effed up. Let's go figure out where it was, you know? And this is the hard part when I talk to other writers, because it's like, I don't know if that's what you mean by writer's block, or are we talking about the same thing? Like, I got questions, so comment down below, let me know. Do you believe in writer's block, or do you not? Or are you also a cellist and have had cellist block before? Let me know. And by the way, when Neil Gaiman is stuck, that's when he relies on that other project. So really, I guess I'm not doing anything wrong by working on the other project instead of Project Death. So speaking of being able to take breaks and then come back to something as long as I write when I'm focused on writing, Tottenham's playing today. It's a big deal, so I'm gonna watch the game. Oh my God!
Paper couldn't have belonged to the victim's collection because it had...
Who are the comics by, Mom?
I don't know, somebody Vertigo's or something.
Oh gosh, Dad.
Neil Gaiman.
Thank you. All right, so it's the next day. I had some things come up that had me stopping my experiment a little bit early, and obviously I had worked earlier in the day. You can see my bag in the distance. I got 4 handwritten pages, which is not the approximately 8 that I wanted, and I also only got through 3 chapters worth of notes and timeline fixings in Project Purple, which is also not really what I wanted. I wanted more. So here's what I'm thinking. One, I actually think this is a perfect way in which I did the Neil Gaiman method, because ultimately that's pretty incredible work for doing other stuff during the day and also like having personal things come up. Here's what I want though. All the other times I've done these I tried writing like videos, I basically didn't have anything else to do other than those videos that day and sticking fully to the thing. So I feel like in comparison to those, I didn't give the Neil Gaiman method a fair shake. So I'm gonna do this again. So it is now the second day of attempting to write like Neil Gaiman. I'm actually, I would argue, at the end of the second day because I have done so much work already. In fact, in comparison with the first day that I tried to write like Neil Gaiman, I think I got the same amount of work done today in like a 2-hour span. I was just feeling very productive and on a roll and all of these things, and I think that's actually the great thing about the Neil Gaiman method as opposed to like, let's say, the Nora Roberts method for me, is that some days I'm just not quite on a roll. Now, Nora's thing was all about like dedication, discipline, and drive, and I think that's also a really good point to have, but I feel like Neil Gaiman's allows me some amount of flexibility and would be the perfect sort of thing to do when I'm traveling or when I'm having a day that I have more like actual work to be done, etc. So I got about 4 pages again of handwriting, and now is probably a good time to see if I can actually read what I wrote that first day. It has been like a week and a half since I filmed that at least, so I've like fully forgotten the words especially, so we're gonna see if I can read, if we can read this. Oh my gosh. Already a struggle. There were only in their order. The slight, oh shoot. Yep, this, as I feared. And then I got an equivalent amount done work on my timeline. And now the only thing that I'm doing today that's unique that I didn't do in my day 1 part of the experiment is that I'm going to be writing a screenplay. Now, regardless of if it's the first draft of the screenplay, the second, third, whatever, I don't actually know how drafting works for screenplays quite the same, but Neil always does his screenplay drafts on his computer. Now, I've had a little bit of an epiphany since I tried writing the screenplay for the first time, the opening scene, and now I have Maybe it's like trying to emulate Neil Gaiman or something, but like I know what I want to do now. And that is such a nice feeling. I'm feeling so solid moving forward. So I have the barest bit of an outline, and now actually I'm probably going to be outlining this more than I outline anything else, but I do have the opening scene now, and I'm actually going to trash the opening scene that I wrote the first time and write this opening scene now. So let's get to it. Let's minimize Project Purple, and then drag this over here so that y'all can see it as I go. So we're gonna go ahead and add a new text file here. So this is scene 1 that I'm going to delete. And then this will be scene 1 keep. All right, so the thing about screenwriting is that I'm actually just now learning the format. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have books and stuff that I'm trying to learn how to screenwrite, but I do fully have the opening scene now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer just these ideas and the concepts into an actual screenplay format. So like I said, voiceover here because I knew that that's what I wanted it to be, but like this is obviously not what a screenplay looks like. So now it's time to get to fixing her up. Let's do it. Oh my gosh, look guys, it's better. Okay, it's not fully done, but that's just because I'm still learning. But oh my gosh, it feels right. It feels right. If y'all watched the video where part 1 of me attempting to write a screenplay in a month for the first time, whatever, you'll know that I felt iffy about what I ended up with, but now I feel like I know. And I think also waiting today to do that after I'd been reading Project Purple also really helped get me in the mindset, and I feel like that just clarified some things. So, yay, ending on a really positive note. I also feel like it's worth mentioning that there's something to be said for picking up the camera and filming this, that I think the fact that I didn't do it today while I was going about things really helped me to like stay in the zone. So it's kind of like another distraction. It's another fun distraction, and I think it's definitely worthwhile in order to document the process and really get a feel for what I'm thinking at the time. But I really like this 2-day thing so that I get a full experience sans having to do a whole lot with the camera. So in the future, I am hoping to do these I Tried Writing Like series for like a week or several days or whatever, especially now that like it's not Camp NaNoWriMo season. So hopefully you guys can have some of those to look forward to. Please do let me know in the comments below who also you'd like me to try writing like in the future. But yeah, I guess that's all for this experiment. Please do comment down below and let me know what you think of Neil Gaiman's method. If you have any parts that you would take from it and blend into your own. I think obviously the handwriting one is just, it's just not gonna be for me, but I did enjoy that I actually got to try it because I don't think I would have tried it outside of this sort of experiment. And please do let me know what you think of writer's block. What is your definition of writer's block? Because I think that's what I'm especially curious about. Let me know if you would ever attempt to write like any other writers. Are there any writers you look up to that you could never mimic their like writing routines, but you really appreciate their style in their books? I'd be very curious to hear about that too. But I think that's gonna be it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much to some of my new patrons this month: Megan McEwen, Leona Chrisman, Elon Till, Zerk P. Arkin, and Sally Davies. And I will see you all with a new video very soon. Bye. Hand problems. As if you've never months. Words are hard.